Alone at midnight, the dark fights for survival 1.5 million years ago, shocking truth revealed. The fire crackled, throwing shadows that danced like phantoms against the walls of the cave. Alone in silence, the air thick with dread, Mara could feel that something was out there, lurking, waiting. Midnight had a life of its own, alive with whispers that sent shivers racing down her spine. She heard tales of the dark, of creatures, twisted and unnatural, prowling the endless night. The youth of her tribe spoke of it in hushed tones, their eyes wide with fear. What could possibly survive the horrors of a world where even the ground trembled with danger? With each passing moment, the darkness seemed to grow, stretching its fingers toward her heart, wrapping around her throat. The cave felt less like a sanctuary and more like a prison. Strange noises echoed, a rustling, a growl, the snap of a twig outside her door of stone. A shiver gripped her, the tightness in her chest making it hard to breathe. She tried to shake it off, but dread clung like a second skin. Mara had a secret, one that set her apart from the other cave dwellers. A secret she kept even from herself. It stirred within her, and she could almost hear its voice, urgent, pleading. Could it truly be her fate to face the shadows alone, or was there a path that led beyond the dark? The flickering fire illuminated ancient carvings on the walls, stories etched in stone of battles fought and won, of spirits tamed and darkness conquered. Hope thrummed under her skin, yet dread threatened to drown it out. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Life beyond the cave was deadly. Other tribes were said to have vanished without a trace. They fled into the wild, only to be consumed by the very creatures they feared. Another sound broke the night, a low growl, chilling and primal. Something was close, too close. Mara stepped back, the firelight flickering wildly as the shadows crashed against the cave's mouth. The weight of the dark pressed down on her and her heart raced. Would she truly be consumed by it? Or was there something inside her, waiting to fight back? No more games, no more hiding. With a deep breath, Mara prepared to confront whatever lay beyond the stone threshold. Was it the end, or just the beginning of something much bigger? The questions hung in the air like smoke, thick and suffocating, as she took a step forward into the unknown. What truth awaited her in the dark? The air grew stale as Mara stood at the cave entrance, her breath hitching in her throat. The shadows danced wildly, mocking her hesitance. She could feel the heartbeat of the night, a pulsing rhythm that echoed in her core. With a shaky hand, she pushed back the damp curtain of fear that threatened to swallow her whole. Focus, she whispered to herself, the words slipping through her lips like a prayer. But doubt clawed at her mind. What if stepping into the dark meant leaving behind everything she had ever known? The cave felt safer with its familiar stone walls, yet the unknown called to her with an irresistible allure. Outside, the low growl resonated again, deeper, rumbling like thunder across a storm-laden sky. The sound crawled under her skin, igniting a spark of instinct she didn't fully understand. Was it fear that compelled her to venture forth, or a burning urge to unearth the secret trapped within? Mara stepped out, the night air biting against her skin like a million tiny needles. The moon hung high, ghostly and pale, illuminating a world that seemed both beautiful and terrifying. Shadows twisted into grotesque shapes, flitting between trees that loomed overhead like sentinels. She squinted into the blackness, her senses heightened. The obscure never seemed as ominous during daylight, then she saw it, a shift of motion between the trees. A silhouette, blurred and monstrous, slipping through the shadows as if it belonged to the very dark she feared. The growl morphed into a snarl, slicing through the silence like a knife. Heart pounding, Mara realized she wasn't alone. Show yourself. Her voice rang out, shaky yet fierce. It felt liberating to relinquish the weight of her solitude. The shadows shifted again, and then, like a spectral vision, it emerged. A creature with eyes like glowing embers, fierce against the void. Its massive form was lined with matted fur, and it moved with a predatory grace that sent a jolt of primal instinct through her veins. Panic ignited within her, but she held her ground. This was the moment she had both dreaded and awaited. The creature paused, sizing her up. In that instant, something inside Mara stirred, a rush of energy coursed beneath her skin. It was almost as if she could sense the creature's pain, its desperation to survive in this harsh world. "No!" she shouted, shaking her head. "I will not be hunted." Something changed in the creature. Its ember eyes narrowed, and for a fleeting moment, they locked onto hers. Mara felt a connection that transcended fear. She realized they were both survivors fighting for the same breath of life. But the connection was quickly severed as the creature let out a howl that pierced the night, a sound filled with anguish and fury. Mara took a breath, the air thick with tension, and suddenly, she realized her secret might not just be a burden. What if it was the key to understanding this creature, to bridging a gap that existed between their worlds? Before she could ponder further, the darkness thickened, more sounds emerging, rustling leaves, snapping twigs, hunters or prey. The creature hesitated, as if torn between staying and fleeing. Mara's heart raced wildly. A choice loomed before her. Should she help this creature, or turn away and remain trapped inside her fears? The decisions felt heavy, laden with the weight of their struggles. As panic threatened to engulf her, the shadows began to meld and swirl, an onslaught against reason. What if she thought, but the question was lost in the tumult. The howl rang out again, more desperate this time. She steadied her breath, her pulse echoing the urgency of the moment. Would she embrace the darkness or forge a path towards the truth that lay beyond it? The answer spiraled within her, waiting to explode. As the creature hesitated, caught in the marrow of the moment, Mara took a step forward, determined to see what lay ahead. Would this act of courage unlock the truth hidden in the dark or plunge her deeper into its abyss? With the night alive with uncertainty, the only option was to embrace the fight. What awaited her would change everything or destroy her in the process, and she might not be the only one at risk. The creature's amber eyes brightened, glinting with a mix of curiosity and ferocity. Mara held her breath, her body taut as a wire. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, yet her feet were anchored to the ground. Each beat of her heart echoed the howl still ringing in the air, a desperate plea for understanding. "Listen," she shouted, her voice cracking under the weight of her fear. If only she could convey her intentions. She felt a deep urge to reach out, to gesture in some way that bridged the chasm between them. But what could she say to a being born of shadows and night? The creature seemed to shift, its massive frame slowly lowering, muscles rippling under the darkness. Mara's heart fluttered with a blend of hope and uncertainty. In its solemn gaze, she detected a flicker of the same anguish that churned within her. But before she could process this bond, a rustling noise erupted from deeper in the woods, her breath caught in her throat. Something was coming. The creature whirled around, hackles raised, its posture rigid with readiness. Mara felt the ground beneath her sway, a chasm of uncertainty opening wide. Was whatever was approaching friend or foe? Then, from the thicket, figures emerged. Mara's stomach twisted in knots. Shadows given shape, menacing silhouettes with weapons clutched in their hands, eyes glimmering with a predatory fervor. They were hunters, and she was all too aware that she might become the hunted. The creature growled low, a rumble that vibrated through the air like a warning shot. "Get out of here!" Mara shouted to it, though she weren't sure if it understood the urgency in her tone. The hunters were stealthy, circling the two of them, driven by instinct and hunger. They weren't just looking for prey, they seemed almost ritualistic in their hunt, an eerily choreographed dance of death. As they approached, Mara's mind spun furiously. The connection with the beast felt fragile amidst the impending danger. Clutching her fists, she struggled against her primal fears. Fight together or die alone, the question drilled into her thoughts, urgent and raw. The ground trembled as one hunter screamed a challenge, shattering the fragile peace with a haunting echo. The creature turned its gaze back to her, a moment that felt electric, a split second of understanding passed between them. They had no time left. Fight! Mara shouted, a fierce resolve igniting within her. As the nearest hunter lunged, she lunged too, not at the creature but towards the looming danger. With a rock she seized from the earth, she hurled it with all her strength. It struck true, hitting the hunter in the shoulder and causing him to stagger. The creature seized the moment, bounding forward with a speed that left her breathless. It leaped, snapping its powerful jaws just inches from another hunter's throat. Mara watched, heart racing, frozen in awe of the raw power unleashed before her. The world fell away as time seemed to blur, the air thick with chaos and adrenaline. One by one, the hunters fell back, taken aback by the furious resistance this night had birthed. This was it, they were fighting side by side, but amidst the fray, she felt an encroaching darkness, something deeper than just the battle at hand. A sense of foreboding gripped her, shadowing her consciousness. This fight wasn't over, it was only the beginning. As the last of the hunters retreated, a shape emerged from the darkness behind them. A figure cloaked in a deep mantle beckoned, eyes glowing with a sinister glimmer. You think this was just a game? It hissed, and a chill raced through her veins. Mara's pulse quickened. She had daughters to protect and questions that screamed for answers. This confrontation had sparked a chain reaction, and what lurked beyond the combat might unravel everything she thought she knew about herself and the creature at her side. What awaited as she ventured deeper into the shadows? The truth was beckoning, and it might be darker than she could ever imagine. The figure stepped closer, the air thick with an intoxicating blend of dread and curiosity. Each movement from the cloaked being felt deliberate, methodical, like a silent conductor orchestrating a dark symphony. Mara's heart raced. The words it had spoken echoed like a warning bell, reverberating in her mind. This is no game, it had hissed. What did that mean for her, for the creature? The cloak billowed slightly in an unseen breeze, revealing glimpses of erratic patterns dancing across its fabric, almost as if it were alive. Shadows flickered and twisted around the figure, giving it an otherworldly presence. Mara couldn't shake the feeling that this being held secrets buried beneath layer after layer of darkness. The creature beside her growled low, sensing the depth of danger. Its amber eyes shifted back and forth, evaluating if the figure before them posed a threat. Mara briefly wondered what the creature truly was, a guardian? A monster? Or maybe something else entirely? But right now, there was no time for questions without answers. The figure raised an arm, fingers swirling as if summoning the shadows themselves. Do you understand the world around you, child? It asked, voice smooth and unsettling. You think this battle was won, but you have only begun to scratch the surface of an ancient war. What do you want? Mara's voice trembled, but there was a defiance buried in her fear. She felt the need to protect her daughters surge within her. Leave us alone. The figure laughed, a sound that chilled her bones. Alone? You are far from alone. All you hold dear is entwined in this fate. Neither you nor the beast can escape what has been set in motion. Your daughters, they are part of a greater design. The question is, are you ready to face it? Mara's chest tightened as she processed the weight of the figure's words. Her daughters, were they in danger? A cacophony of emotions surged within her, anger, fear, protectiveness. The specter before them was a threat, she realized, but what if it held the key to understanding this nightmare? Why should I trust you? She spat, her words edged with desperation. Who are you? The figure tilted its head, a smile creeping across its lips. I am what you fear most. I am the harbinger of truth and pain. I offer revelations that could shatter worlds. It stepped closer, the shadows swirling menacingly at its feet. Will you let me show you what lies beyond your mortal understanding? Behind Mara, the creature tensed, its growl deepening into something primal. It didn't want her to engage, didn't want her to delve deeper. But the air was electric with an undeniable pull, almost like destiny tugging at her soul. Then came a deafening roar from the treetops, a sound both familiar and terrifying. It was a warning, a familiar cry echoing through the trees. One of the hunters had returned, but this time it was with reinforcements. Mara's heart sank. They were outnumbered. You see. The figure crooned, gliding backward into the shadows. Time is of the essence. Knowledge can either bind you or free you. As the other hunters, armed and ominous, broke through the canopy, the creature sprung forward, positioning itself protectively beside Mara. She couldn't let fear seize her, she had to fight. But battling the hunters was just one part of her struggle. Stay close, she shouted, feeling the weight of her decision settling like lead in her gut. They had no choice but to act as one against the hunters and whatever darkness lay ahead. The figure watched from the shadows, a silent sentinel filled with promises and threats. Mara felt its eyes on her as they readied for the onslaught. She had to choose, but the answer remained shrouded in darkness. Could she trust the secrets whispered by the shadows, or would they lead her and her daughters into a deeper abyss? Mara clenched her jaw. The confrontation was nearing, but deeper questions lingered, waiting to be unearthed. In the depths of chaos, the truth was beckoning, but Mara knew that nothing would prepare her for what was about to explode from the depths of the night. Chaos erupted as hunters burst through the trees, their figures stark against the dimming sky. The air was thick with tension, a palpable electricity wrapping around Mara like a vice. She felt the creature's muscles tense beside her, its instincts kicking in, ready to defend. A primal fear gripped her heart, but she fought it back as best she could. Formation. A hunter barked, snapping her back to the present. They were organized, ruthless, and determined. Mara's mind spun, weighing each second carefully. Did she stand and fight, trusting the creature beside her, or did she run, trying to reach her daughters before it was too late? Mara. The figure's voice cut through the noise like a dagger. It hovered just at the edge of her vision. You wish to protect your children, yet you hesitate. Choose wisely. But how could she choose when every option felt like stepping into a void? I don't need your help. She snapped, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her distress. Behind her, the creature let out a low snarl, the echo of its warning rising above the chatter of the advancing hunters. The first wave of hunters charged, arrows nocked and ready. Mara's heart pounded as she instinctively grabbed the creature's fur, grounding herself. Now! She shouted, and in the blink of an eye, the creature leapt forward, its powerful body a blur of motion. A hunter screamed as the creature struck, claws flashing in the dim light. Blood sprayed in a dark arc before hitting the ground, creating a morbid painting against the forest floor. Mara felt the knot in her stomach tighten. This was not just a fight, it was a bloodbath. The remaining hunters reacted, and chaos erupted. Arrows flew wildly. Mara ducked, dodging one that whizzed past her ear. She forced herself to act, pushing through the fear constricting her chest. Flank them! She shouted, biting back panic. She wasn't just a mother anymore, she had become a soldier in this battle. The creature fought valiantly, its form a mixture of grace and raw power, a living shield protecting Mara from the onslaught. She watched in horror as hunters fell, but the realization stung this was only the beginning. Mara! The figure's voice echoed as it stepped farther into the clearing. Your fight is not with them alone. You must confront what you fear if you desire to save your daughters. A sharp notion punctured her mind. Fear wasn't just about the hunters, or the creature. Fear hovered in the shadows as deep as the knowledge she didn't understand. What if the truth was far worse? Shut up! She yelled, shaking her head to dismiss its dark insinuations. She didn't have time for temptations or hidden meanings. But the figure's gaze locked onto hers, a maddening insight simmering in its depths. Was it revealing more than she could bear? Suddenly, another hunter lunged at her, weapon drawn. She was too slow. The creature lunged, intercepting the blow, but at a cost. Droplets of shadows erupted and frothed around them, confounding her senses. Get away! Mara shouted in a fit of adrenaline, pushing back against her own instincts. She had to keep moving. The world seemed to slow, the sound of battle muffled like a distant dream, but the truth loomed like an unseen predator. With each heartbeat, she felt her daughter's names pulling at her like an anchor. Would they hear her screams? If she were to fall, how could she protect them? Look beyond the immediate, Mara, the figure whispered, shadowy tendrils of its cloak dancing in the scuffle. Only then will you understand. The shadows bulged and roared, and with it came a crushing wave of realization that made her stomach churn. She wasn't just battling to survive, she was wrestling with a destiny that gnawed at her bones. As she seized an opportunity to push through the chaos, the realization hit her like a physical blow: the real enemy was more than the figures in the night. It was the truth that would shatter everything she believed. Her heart thundered as the landscape shifted around her, a battlefield of tangled emotions and raw survival. She could feel the force of destiny tightening its grip, pushing her toward a fateful decision. In this moment, as the screams of the hunters mingled with the growls of the creature, Mara realized the inevitable was upon her. What awaited her on the other side of this struggle? As shadows loomed around them, the darkness whispered secrets meant to unravel her world. Would the truth set her free, or break her forever? Mara's instincts screamed for her to break free from the chaos. Soldiers in survival mode darted around her, faceless amid the flashes of chaos. The creature fought valiantly, a whirlwind of fury and precision, but a part of her felt lost in it all. The fear for her daughters wrapped tighter around her heart. Each scream caused a stab with a deeper longing, pulling her away from the battle and into the echoes of their absence. "Move!" she shouted, her voice cutting through the disarray. She had to find them. Finding her girls was non-negotiable. With each glance into the darkened shadows, there was an overwhelming sense of dread. Where could they be? Were they scared? The figure kept haunting her vision, its dark whispers swirling in her mind like angry bees. You cannot run from your fears, Mara. They will follow. Ignoring the voice, she charged forward. Arrows flew overhead, one whizzing past so close she felt the wind of it against her cheek. Panting, she focused on the space between the trees, desperate for the familiar cries of her daughters. Each step forward was in protest of the shadows, which curled and twisted like coiling serpents ready to strike. Suddenly, the creature howled, backing her against a tree. It was a warning, an urgent reminder that the hunters weren't the only threat. Another hunter advanced, fierce and relentless. Mara felt a tide of anger flood through her. Enough! She shouted and, with a surge of adrenaline, snatched a fallen arrow from the earth. She steadied herself, breathing deep. The ground felt unsteady beneath her feet, but she steadied it all with one clear thought: survival. Just as the hunter lunged, she drove the arrow forward with all her might. It sank deep, another visceral echo of brutality. She wasn't just a mother, she was a force to be reckoned with, and she'd do whatever it took to defend her children. But amidst the victory came a feeling of dread. The creature growled, low and ominous, as the world twisted around her. More are coming, it warned. Mara's heart sank. She could almost sense them, parasitic shadows lurching toward her, drawn by fear. The realization crashed over her like a wave: this wasn't just a battle against hunters, it was a fight against something far darker. Mara! The figure loomed closer, its cloak billowing with an otherwise unseen wind. The truth lies hidden in the darkness, waiting for you. What do you want from me? Mara yelled. Can't you see I'm busy fighting for my life? Its eyes glinted like shards of glass. Your answers are not what you think. Seek the heart of your fear, spurn the darkness before it consumes you. She didn't have time for riddles, but something about its voice, cold and steady, struck a chord with her. Her mind raced, reeling from hints of an impending revelation as she fought against her enemies. Suddenly, an unnatural chill filled the air. The shadows thickened, and a flicker of doubt began creeping back into her heart. What if she failed? What if she lost everything? The glimpse of her daughters' faces flared in her mind, melting away her uncertainty. Just then, from amongst the shadows, figures materialized, twisted shapes not of men, but made of darkness itself. Fear tightened its grip, and a primal scream caught in her throat. They were hunting her now, eager to drag her back into their depths. Flee! The creature roared, lunging to intercept. Mara froze for just a heartbeat, adrenaline surging through her. She saw her path, a narrow escape that led out of the clearing. But doubt clawed at her. Would she leave the creature behind? Or face the darkness that threatened to swallow them all? In that moment, destiny hung heavy in the air. Would she step into the murky depths of truth or run blindly for her daughters? Choose now, Mara. The figure's voice whispered, and with it, shadows rolled closer. The choices were many, but the time was slipping away. In the center of chaos, she braced herself, knowing the answer could change everything. Would she unravel the dark secrets that bound them, or retreat to the loving light of her daughters? As the shadows lunged, Mara felt the weight of destiny closing in. What awaited her in this moment of reckoning? Mara inhaled sharply, the acrid smell of smoke burning her nostrils as she made her decision. She had to act, and fast. The shadows were close now, malign and eager to envelope her. They flickered and twisted, their edges blurring with the relentless creep of darkness. Run! She shouted at the creature. It hesitated, glancing back at her with an unreadable expression. But she couldn't wait, it was now or never. With a forceful push from her legs, she launched herself toward the narrow path that led deeper into the woods. Branches snagged at her clothes, tearing at her skin as she sprinted away from the chaos. She could hear the howls of the creature, a desperate sound that penetrated the air around her. But her heart was thundering in her ears, drowning out everything except the pounding rhythm of survival. Behind her, the darkness surged like a tide, pressing closer and closer. She could almost feel its breath on her neck, a cold wind tinged with malicious intent. But the thought of her daughters ignited a fierce determination that burned in her chest. I will find you, she whispered, even though she could barely hear her own voice above the cacophony. As she raced, images of them wove through her mind. Little smiles, bright laughter, the way they spun around her in games. They were out there, lost in the shadows, but she was coming for them. She had to believe that. Suddenly, the underbrush thinned, and a clearing opened up before her. Moonlight spilled down, illuminating the forest floor, creating an ethereal glow that fought against the encroaching darkness. In the center lay a shimmering pond, its surface reflecting the starlit sky above. For just a moment, peace wrapped around her, a soft embrace that calmed her racing heart. But it was fleeting. Emerging from the trees, the dark figures poured into the clearing, their forms twisting like smoke. They encircled her, hungry for her fear, their whispers clawing at her mind. Join us, Mara, you can hide no longer. The truth awaits. She felt the creature's presence hovering nearby, an unwavering light in this sea of shadows. It roared again, driving forward, and with a jolt of pure instinct, Mara turned toward the pond, desperation guiding her. She plunged her hand into the icy water, pulling up handfuls as if the liquid could cleanse her of the shadows that gripped her heart. What do you want from me? She screamed, her voice trembling as she splashed the cold water into the dark shapes surrounding her. Only that which you fear, Mara, they echoed, words slithering through the air like smoke. Reveal your truth, and the darkness shall relent. The pond rippled under her touch, and suddenly, images danced in the water's reflection. She saw her daughters, scared and alone in a shadowed place. A dark silhouette loomed over them, a grotesque version of the creature that fought beside her. No! The piercing scream burst from her lips, raw and visceral, echoing into the dark. In that moment of horror, clarity struck like lightning. If she wanted to save her girls, she must face what she feared the most. And the true nature of that fear lay within her. She had tried to shield them, to protect them from the world's horrors, but this darkness, this very thing that hunted her, knew her pain as its own, and whether she scorned it or accepted it mattered little. Taking a deep breath, Mara stepped toward the pond, determination etched into her features. I'm ready, she declared, the words like fire on her tongue. Show me. The shadows stirred violently, as if they sensed her resolve. Would embracing her deepest fears grant her the power to save her daughters, or would it consume her completely? The choice had come, and with it, the answer twisted just out of reach. Through the chaos, a flicker of hope appeared on the horizon, whispering that perhaps the darkness held answers. Mara. The creature's voice broke through the mist. Are you certain? She locked her gaze on the reflections, unashamed below the weight of their truth. Absolutely. I want to let fear take me down. But would she have the strength to confront the spectral truth of her battle? As the shadows lunged forward like ravenous beasts, she steeled herself for the uncharted depths of her own heart. The moment was close. Would she dissolve into the night, or rise anew from its ashes? The shadows lunged, their tendrils swirling like smoke in a tempest. Mara's heart raced as their whispers twisted around her thoughts, sharp and unnerving. You think you can defy us? They sneered, their voices entangled with her doubts, dredging up memories laden with guilt and fear. I don't have to listen. She shouted, a feeble echo of defiance in a theater of despair. But even as she declared it, doubts crept in, gnawing at the edges of her courage. What if she was too weak? What if her truth was too painful? Yet, the thought of her daughters, frail and lost, filled her with a fierce urgency. The water in the pond sparkled, reflecting the light as Mara grasped the cool, quivering surface. She felt a pulse beneath her fingers, a rhythm of truths waiting to be unearthed. The pond felt alive, holding promises and fears intertwined in its depths. With a deep breath, she plunged both hands deep into the icy water. Images swirled, vivid and disorienting. She saw herself, younger and carefree, dancing in the sunlight with her children. They were laughing, full of innocence, untouched by the darkness waiting around every corner. But then, the scene shattered, morphing into twisted visions, her daughters alone, eyes wide with terror, shadows reaching for them like claws. Stop. No. Her voice was raw, laced with anguish as she withdrew her hands, water cascading from her fingers like fleeting opportunities, but the darkness didn't relent. It gathered again, a mass of oppressive void, almost sentient in its hunger. Face the truth, a whisper twined around her, almost gentle, yet laced with menace. You cannot shield them from the world. The darker parts of your soul are what they fear most. Mara shuddered. Her past mistakes, her worst moments, the fierce love and protection gone wrong came flooding back. The isolation she tried to protect them from, her own insecurities. Could these shadows be right? No. I refuse to be defined by my fears. She cried out, shaking her head violently as though it could banish the specters lingering in her mind. The shadows recoiled for a moment, as if surprised by her defiance. Then show us your truth. Their voices, a chilling chorus, beckoned her for a reckoning, intertwining with the whispers of her own self-doubt. With a weary strength, she closed her eyes and sank to her knees at the edge of the pond, her hands clasped tightly together, trembling with the weight of her resolve. I have made mistakes, she said, the words spilling from her lips with raw honesty, but I am more than those failures. I am more than my fears. Each admission felt like a purge, a battle cry against the shadows that threatened to engulf her spirit. The air around her shifted, thick with tension. The shadows seemed to quiver, unsure of how to respond to her candor. This defiance, born from vulnerability, sparked a flicker of hope in her chest. Was she finally taking back the power that fear had held? Then suddenly, a powerful wind whipped through the clearing, blowing leaves and debris like tiny whirlwinds. The shadows screamed, losing their form as the creature that fought by her side surged to her defense. Mara! It bellowed, its voice resonating deep within her. You've awakened something. Hold on. But the chaos swirled, darkness crashing around her like waves breaking over stone. The pond gurgled, rippling with secrets eager to be released. What was underneath? With the shadows clawing, Mara could feel the very fabric of her reality shifting. Would she uncover the truth she needed, or would it tear her apart completely? The pond beckoned, holding the answers she craved, the balance of love and fear, light and dark just beyond reach. As the shadows lunged once more, a brilliant flash pierced the air, illuminating the night. Mara's heart thundered in her chest. Was this the moment of realization she sought, or a sign that the shadows were closing in for the kill? Mara! Now! The creature urged, its form a beacon against the swirling chaos. With one final, shuddering breath, she dove headfirst into the pond, ready to embrace whatever lay hidden below. Would she emerge reborn or succumb to the abyss? There, in the depths, the only certainty was that her deepest truth awaited, and the clock was ticking. What would she discover in the shadow's embrace? Would she find the key to saving her daughters, or were they lost among the echoes of her own fears? The moment Mara hit the water, it enveloped her like freezing fingers, dragging her deeper into its chilling embrace. She gasped, the shock of cold slicing through her breath, the world above fading into shadows. For a heartbeat, everything was quiet. Then, the voices roared back to life, echoing like thunder in her mind. "Welcome to the depths of your soul, Mara." They sang out, the malicious glee in their tones unmistakable. "This is where real revelations lie. Find your truths." She kicked and flailed, but the weight of the water around her was a relentless pressure, squeezing the air from her lungs. Panic clawed at her throat as she struggled to focus. Breathing through the fear, she attempted to center herself, remembering the faces of her daughters, hoping they would guide her through this abyss. Suddenly, images surrounded her, crystalline against the dark water. Broken memories flickered like broken glass, her husband's furious words, the day she first felt she had failed as a mother, and the way her little girls looked at her with trust, unwavering in the face of her own shattering storms. Each fragment cut, filled with both light and despair, her heart raced as she grasped one shimmering shard. It expanded, swirling around her until she found herself standing in a memory. She was back in her living room, filled with laughter and warmth. But then, the laughter turned hollow. The faces of her daughters blurred, morphing into wide-eyed reflections of fear. "Mom!" They cried out in unison, their voices breaking through the laughter, their eyes pleading. "Help us! Stop!" Mara screamed, but her voice was swallowed by the depths. "I'll save you. I'll protect you. Just tell me how." The shadows darted closer, swirling around her like wraiths eager to devour her words. "The truth, Mara. The truth." They hissed, with a surge of desperation. She squeezed her eyes shut, recalling the one thing she had buried deeper than any fear. A truth that would unlock not just the darkness inside her but could also save her daughters. The day they had witnessed her failures, the moment she had retreated from them in her own pain, leaving them to face the world alone. Thinking of that day shattered her heart, but also ignited a flicker of strength. "I see it. I see it." She yelled into the darkness, her voice tremoring but growing stronger. "I was wrong to think I could shield you from my pain. I'm sorry." In an instant, the water around her erupted, bubbles rising with urgency as the shadows twisted, writhing in protest. They howled, their forms flickering as if struggling to maintain their shape in the surge of Mara's newly discovered resolve. "No. You must hide. You are your own worst enemy. Enough." She pleaded, drawing every ounce of power from within. "My pain is not theirs. I will show them that facing fears is how we become stronger." As she fought back, a luminescent glow surged from her chest, lighting the water around her with a warm glow, pushing the shadows away. The dim light shifted, revealing a path before her, winding deeper into the pond where she felt a magnetic pull. "Follow it." The creature's voice rang out, firm and focused. "This is where you find the truth you seek." Mara pushed forward, the mysterious path widening with every stroke. It felt like Hope's embrace, wrapping around her like a soft blanket on a cold night. She could sense that something monumental was just beyond the reach of the glow, waiting for her, a key to her daughter's survival and her own redemption, but as she ventured deeper, doubts loomed just outside the aura of light, swirling like a menacing storm. Would she truly find a way to save them? Or would she discover that the shadows had only dragged her deeper into a pit of despair? With each stroke, Mara propelled herself into the unknown, heart pounding. The truth awaited, but what if it was darker than she feared? Would she survive the depths, or would the shadows finally claim her? In the profound silence of the depths, one question echoed louder than all others: what would she have to sacrifice to confront her? Truth. Mara surged through the murky depths, determination racing against despair. She grasped the swirling luminosity, its warmth spreading like the comforting glow of dawn breaking over a horizon of endless night. Each ripple brushed against her skin, igniting a potent mix of fear and hope, a fierce reminder of what rested on her shoulders. Her daughters, lost in uncertainty, demanded her strength. She had to face the truth, whatever form it took. As she descended further, the memories swirled, each fluid moment sparking like fireflies in her mind, her oldest daughter's laughter echoing like chimes in the wind, her youngest's gentle whispers promising a bond that couldn't break. The sound of their joy now felt like a magnet pulling her onward, pushing aside the shadows that clawed at her thoughts and tried to encase her in doubt. With one powerful stroke, Mara broke through the surface of her fears, bursting into a hidden chamber illuminated by incandescent light. It was a sanctuary forged from her memories, each corner revealing the beauty and fragility of her past. Here, her daughters played under an ever-expanding sky filled with brilliant colors, a safe bubble she had crafted for them in moments of love. She felt the pulse of life surrounding her, it was as if the very air was infused with their laughter. But the shadows lingered beyond the radiant glow, whispering doubts that slithered through her resolve. You cannot protect them. You only breed fear, they hissed, each syllable chilling her soul. I am not my fears, she declared fiercely, fists clenched in defiance. I will not let you control me any longer. The chamber flickered momentarily, the light responding to her declaration, intensifying and pushing back against the encroaching dark. But new memories floated to the forefront, visions of her most bitter failures. The day she let despair envelop her, retreating into darkness rather than guiding her daughters through the storms. I am sorry, she whispered to the images, remorse spilling from her heart. I've failed you. The moment her youngest called for her haunted her, a chilling echo of a mother's absence in critical times. And yet within the regret, another thought arose, brighter and undeniable. But together we can heal, she continued, firm in her assertion. We will face the darkness, not just hide from it. The shadows recoiled, belligerent against her truth. Yet her resolve unfurled like the dawn, pushing back the haze. I will not shelter them from my scars. Instead, I will teach them resilience. I can still shape their futures. With each powerful statement, the walls of her sanctuary grew stronger. The light pulsed in rhythmic waves, cascading over her, illuminating the encroaching darkness. I will be their guide through fear, not their prison. Suddenly, the abyss roared in fury, catching her off guard as the shadows lunged forward, desperate to reclaim their hold. Mara's heart thundered, but she was ready. With a primal scream, she summoned the light, channeling her grief, her hopes, and the fiery love for her daughters. Go back. She roared, and as she did, light erupted from her. It coursed through the chamber, illuminating the underlying truth: the darkness was not just an enemy, it was intertwined with the light of her grace, too. The shadows writhed, but this time, they began to shift and dissipate instead of consuming. They felt her acceptance, her unyielding refusal to be defeated. The darkness wavered, and for every cry of despair, she offered a declaration of love, wrapping herself tighter around her truth. Reveal my truth, she cried, summoning her own inner strength. An arrow of brilliant light shot forth, piercing the heart of the chaos swirling around her. The shadows screeched, recoiling in pain as Mara reached her hand forward into the light's center, a conduit of healing, and suddenly felt a deep pulse respond like a heartbeat. In an instant, she was outside again, the clearing shimmering before her. Breathless, she looked around, the moon cradling her being in a soft glow. The creature stood watchful, tense and protective beside her. Mara felt the distance that had grown between them shatter as they exchanged knowing glances, their bond stronger than before. And in that moment, her daughters emerged from the shadows, safe and whole, their eyes searching the darkness from which they come. "Mom!" they called, rushing toward her, their laughter no longer laced with fear. "Mom!" her oldest echoed, reaching out to embrace her, a bridge of pure relief. Mara dropped to her knees, welcoming them into her arms, tears of joy spilling down as she felt the weight of darkness lift. The creature nuzzled close, a fierce guardian acknowledging their victory in the unseen battle fought together. They stood united, a family forged in light through their fears, anchored by the truths they had faced. "Together, we are undeniable," she whispered, the shadows retreating into the distance, forever changed. As they wrapped around her one heart, one family, Mara understood the fight was never truly over. The journey would continue, each scar a testament to their survival, each moment a chance to face another day. As the dawn approached, painting the horizon in soft strokes of light, they stepped forward into an unpredictable world, hands intertwined, with the darkness lying behind them where it belonged, and the infinite possibilities of the light stretching out before them. Remember, every story doesn't end with a happy resolution. Some bloom into endless beginnings. Now, don't wait even one more second. You need to subscribe immediately to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will fill your heart with hope. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Flood the comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Let us talk about it, and take a moment to instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion today. Show that you're a true fan. Your support means everything.